Right now, beneath the most cramped, overpriced, just suffocatingly tiny apartments in cities like Tokyo, London, and Hong Kong, there are acres of completely empty dead space.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you think about it.
You are literally walking on top of a multi-million-dollar ghost town. Like, you look up, and the residential high-rises are packed to the brim. People are practically living on top of each other. But if you look down, right under your feet, the basements of those commercial buildings are just gathering dust.
It's a striking visual. Above ground, we have this intense, almost suffocating density because, well, people are desperate for space.
Right.
But below ground, we have these massive subterranean footprints doing absolutely nothing. I mean, it is a complete structural mismatch in how we use modern urban environments.
Exactly. And welcome to another custom-tailored deep dive designed specifically for you. Today, we are looking at a stack of sources that try to solve that exact structural mismatch.
It's a fun one today.
It really is. We are unpacking a fascinating pitch deck from a prop tech company called Boxful. Specifically, it's a presentation titled Boxful Tech Fest Final 2.02.
Quite the name.
Yeah, quite the file name. But the mission for this deep dive is to explore how Boxful is trying to completely rewire the concept of self-storage.
And they really are.
They aren't just trying to build, better metal lockers to hide your old ski gear. They want to turn that dead urban space into highly profitable, unmanned, tech-driven community hubs.
Yep.
And eventually they want to turn those physical hubs into digital assets.
Which is where it gets really wild. The sheer scale of the opportunity here is staggering. What we're going to explore today is a collision of multiple massive trends.
Let's unpack that.
So you have real estate stagnation on one side,
Yeah.
and on the other, you have the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and blockchain tokenization.
All hitting at once.
Right at the same time, Boxful is sitting right at the intersection of all these forces, trying to completely rewrite the rule book for commercial landlords and franchisees alike.
Okay, so if the demand for space is huge and these commercial basements are just sitting empty, why hasn't the traditional self-storage industry already claimed this territory?
That's the big question.
Right, because before we get into the AI and the blockchain, we really need to understand the physical and economic reality on the ground. The pitch deck calls this the urban paradox.
And they define it perfectly, I think. People need space, but buildings are empty.
It's so simple, but so true.
Yeah, and to understand why this paradox exists and why traditional storage hasn't, solved it, we have to look at the three pillars driving this phenomenon.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, you have skyrocketing housing costs. In major urban centers, rent is just forcing people into smaller and smaller living spaces. A spare room or even a spacious closet is a luxury of the past.
Oh, absolutely.
Second, we have the e-commerce boom. I mean, we are ordering more physical goods than ever before.
Guilty as charged.
Right. So people have significantly smaller homes, but they own much more stuff.
Which is just a terrible combination for anyone trying to keep a tidy apartment.
Precisely. And the third pillar is retail vacancy. Commercial basements are dying out.
Because no one goes down there.
Exactly. Traditional retail is struggling to generate the foot traffic needed to justify those massive subterranean spaces. They lack relevant content to draw people in. You can't just put a regular clothing store in a basement anymore and expect people to walk down the stairs.
The geographic disparity they highlight in the sources is wild, too. They point out that in places like Hanoi, the UK, Japan, and Singapore, real estate prices have consistently outpaced GDP growth by 2 times.
2 times. It's incredible.
So your actual salary, your purchasing power is growing at a normal rate, but the cost of physical space is just running away from you.
It creates an incredible pressure cooker. People are getting squeezed. And the deck maps out the massive upside of this pressure, specifically focusing on the Asian market.
They see a huge gap there, right?
Oh, massive. They project that Asia's self-storage market has a 10x growth potential. Back in 2017, it was a $700 million market.
Okay.
But the deck shows this chart. It's essentially a massive widening canyon. On the top, you have the sharply rising line of real estate costs, and below it, you have this exponentially growing curve representing storage demand.
So the space in between is the opportunity.
Pure, unadulterated opportunity. And they are targeting the cities most primed for this disruption, like Hong Kong, Singapore, Tokyo, Taipei, and Seoul.
So basically, we have a generation living in shoeboxes, overwhelmed by e-commerce deliveries, walking right over top of cavernous, empty commercial basements.
That's the reality.
It sounds like an obvious matchmaking problem. But putting a creepy, fluorescent-lit metal locker under a luxury apartment building doesn't really work, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Hmm.
And that is exactly why traditional self-storage hasn't taken over these prime urban basements.
Right.
When you think of self-storage, you usually think of, like, a dusty corridor on the industrial outskirts of town.
With the flickering lights.
Exactly. It is a low-value, low-engagement utility. You go there maybe twice a year, you drop off your winter coats, and you leave. It doesn't bring life or high-value foot traffic to a building.
Which brings us to how Boxful is actually bridging this gap. And they aren't just theorizing about this. They already have serious traction.
Yeah, this isn't just an idea on paper.
According to the deck, they have over 80 stores operating right now across Korea, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, with Vietnam slated as their next market.
And their approach to those 80-plus stores is what they call a value-up strategy.
Value up. I like that.
Right. They realize that to justify prime urban real estate, you can't just put metal boxes in dead basements. You have to change the fundamental nature of the space.
So what do they do instead?
So they are transforming these vacant commercial areas into what they call hybrid lifestyle hubs. They're taking the core need, which is storage, and wrapping it in premium shared facilities.
The images in the source material for this are incredible. It
Yeah.
completely shattered my preconceived idea of what a storage unit looks like.
It's totally different vibes.
It really is. They have these specialized spaces driven by actual consumer hobbies and content. For example, they show private entertainment gaming rooms set up right inside the facility.
Yeah.
They have these work and hobby stations. The photos show actual operating branches where people have set up Gunpla, which are those intricate Gundam plastic models, right next to 3D printers and airbrushing stations.
They've recognized a crucial shift in consumer behavior. People don't just want to hide their belongings in the dark anymore, They want spaces to actively engage with their passions.
Exactly, because your tiny apartment doesn't have room for a messy airbrushing station.
Precisely. So Boxful provides it. The deck also highlights specialized climate-controlled storage for wine, for fine art collections, and even specialized shipping container setups inside the building for parking and working on motorcycles.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an entirely different utility for urban space.
So instead of a graveyard for your old furniture, they're building an external hard drive for your actual life. It's your personal garage, your wine cellar, and your workshop, just rented by the square foot.
What's fascinating here is the financial ripple effect of that transition. It's profound for the property owners.
I bet.
By moving from a dead, vacant basement to a hybrid lifestyle hub filled with loyal customers, hobbyists, and community members, Boxful cites an astounding 300% increase in asset value for these buildings.
300%.
Yeah, you are taking a distressed, non-performing asset and turning it into a premium multi-use destination that generates consistent high-yield revenue.
Okay, a 300% asset value increase sounds amazing if you're a landlord. But here is the massive red flag my brain is raising right now.
I think I know what you're going to say.
If I own a building and you tell me we're going to put a beauty salon, a co-working office, a 3D printing station, and a motorcycle garage in my basement, my very first thought is labor costs.
Oh, definitely.
The overhead to manage that kind of complex facility must be catastrophic. You need receptionists, 247 security, maintenance staff, facility managers.
Right.
But then right there in the pitch deck is the most staggering stat of the whole presentation. Understaff required, it just says 0%.
0 staff. Fully unmanned operations.
Come on, how is that even physically possible?
It sounds impossible, right?
You cannot just leave a 3D printing hobby station and a high-end wine cellar unattended in a basement without it turning into absolute chaos. What happens when a pipe bursts?
Well, this is where we dive into the operational engine of Boxful. And the founders use a really elegant metaphor to explain how their tech stack integrates to solve exactly that problem.
Okay, let's hear it.
They model their 4 key ingredients after gimbap, the traditional Korean seaweed rice roll.
Okay, I love a good food metaphor.
Right. The technology isn't just a list of random software. It's a tightly rolled system where the outer layer holds all the operational layers together. If you understand how this gimbap is built, you understand how they run these complex hubs with 0 overhead.
Okay, so let's pull apart the gimbap. What is the outer layer holding this all together?
Let's start with the outside layer. The black layer, representing the Kim or the seaweed. For Boxful, this is their foundation AI.
Foundation AI. Got it.
Yeah. Before they even swing a hammer, sign a lease, or talk to a landlord, they use an advanced AI for real estate profit analysis and optimal site matching.
Wait, so the AI is picking the locations?
It's doing much more than that. The source imagery actually shows the back-end interface. You feed the system a digital floor plan of an empty, oddly shaped commercial basement.
Okay.
The AI then actively draws the blueprint. It automatically tessellates different sized lockers, cube, medium large, X large, into the space to maximize the physical yield down to the square inch.
That's incredibly efficient.
But doesn't stop at geometry.
What else is it looking at?
It weighs that blueprint against incredibly granular local data. It pulls in the floating population of the neighborhood, the average household sizes, the local demographics.
Oh, wow.
The AI uses all that to predict exactly what kind of hybrid hub will succeed there. Should it be a wine cellar or a gaming room? Based on that, it predicts the exact startup costs, the investment recovery period, and the expected monthly net profit.
Before they've even built anything.
It literally spits out a dashboard saying exactly what the location will cost to build and exactly when it will become profitable before a single dollar is spent.
That is wild. The seaweed layer alone is doing the job of a whole team of real estate analysts and architects.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the AI sets the foundation. What is the next layer?
Next is the yellow ingredient, the danmuji, or pickled radish. This is the crunch, the core operational tech that answers your question about how a facility runs with zero staff.
Right, the pipe bursting problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They call it Staff Zero. It is a 100% unmanned Internet of Things store management system. And the deck is very careful to note this is real tech built from grueling operational experience, not just some, theoretical idea.
Right.
It was born out of the data from managing over 50,000 smart door locks across their network.
50,000 door locks. That is a massive data set to learn from. But, a smart lock just lets someone in the door. How does Staff Zero handle the environment itself? The sources mention something called vaccine AI and these incredibly detailed live dashboards.
Right, so let's take your example of a burst pipe.
Yeah, let's say water is flooding the floor.
The Staff Zero system integrates directly with the central building management system. The sensors aren't just looking at the doors. They have live monitoring for everything. If a water leak sensor trips on the floor, the system doesn't ping a human manager to drive down and check it out.
What does it do?
The IoT system automatically shuts off the main water valve to the facility to prevent damage and automatically dispatches a third-party maintenance contractor.
You're kidding.
Nope. Zero on-site staff intervention required.
Oh, wow. So it's actively managing the crisis, not just reporting it. I saw they also track gas detection down to LEL 0.3.
Yes, and to put that in perspective, LEL stands for lower explosive limit.
Okay.
By monitoring gas leaks down to 0.3% of the LEL, it means their sensors can detect a combustible gas leak long before it even gets close to a concentration that could ignite or cause harm.
That's incredibly safe.
It automatically shuts down systems and triggers ventilation. They also have real-time CCTV feeds mapped directly to the digital floor plan and centralized HVAC control to ensure the wine and the art collections stay at the perfect temperature.
That's a lot of moving parts.
It is. And this isn't off-the-shelf software, The deck proudly displays multiple official patent certificates registered with the Korean Intellectual Property Office for these automated fulfillment and management systems.
Okay, so we have the AI planning the space and the Staff Zero IoT running the physical building. What's the orange layer of the gimbap?
The orange layer, the dangjun, or carrot, represents their logistics network. They have a proprietary warehouse management system that talks directly to e-commerce sites.
So it's built for small businesses, too.
Exactly. So if a small business is running their inventory out of a Boxful hub, the software automatically tracks their stock and manages the logistics of shipping it out.
That makes a lot of sense.
And finally, the red layer, the kimchi. This is what they call the spicy content, the franchise brand itself, the marketing, and the project financing that makes the real estate deals happen.
The spicy content. I love that. And the proof of all this tech really shows up in the business results, right? Because by automating the physical space so thoroughly, their margins are just phenomenal.
They really are.
The deck highlights that they are currently storing over 8,000 pallets. They've seen a 338% year-over-year increase in storage volumes, and they are operating at a massive 53% gross profit margin.
Which is huge for physical real estate.
Right. When you remove human labor from the day-to-day operation of a physical facility, your EBITDA, which is basically your actual operating profit, the cash you take home before all the complex accounting magic happens, it just transforms.
Exactly. The margins are incredibly healthy because the technology has effectively eliminated the highest variable cost of running physical real estate, which is human overhead.
Okay, so let me make sure I have this straight. A landlord basically hands over the keys to a dead, empty commercial basement. An AI instantly draws up the most profitable floor plan and financial projection.
Yep.
Then, an array of IoT robots, water sensors, and smart locks run the lights, the security, and the climate control 237 without a single human employee.
That's the pitch.
And the landlord just sits back and collects a 53% margin check.
Essentially, yes.
I mean, it sounds like an absolute dream for real estate owners, but honestly, it sounds almost too clean. Like, who is actually capturing all this upside?
That is the exact tension this company's leaning into.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if the technology makes the physical space that profitable and that easy to run, who should actually own that value? Traditionally, the landlord takes all the equity gains when the building's value goes up, right?
Right. And the tenant just pays their rent, completely detached from the success of the property.
Exactly. But Boxful is trying to flip that entirely.
And this is the part of the deep dive where things get incredibly disruptive. In the deck, there is this bold quote that says, "The era of buying real estate alone is over."
It's a massive statement.
They aren't just changing what a storage unit looks like or how a basement is operated. They are trying to change the actual physics and legality of real estate ownership.
Yes, this is the final layer of their pitch. They call it the GIMUP STO protocol.
STO.
STO stands for Security Token Offering. Boxful is transforming these massive physical buildings into digital securities so they can distribute the ownership transparently on the blockchain.
Wait, hold on. We need to break this down carefully because tokenizing real estate is a massive, complex concept. You can't just mint a crypto coin on your laptop and say it equals a commercial building.
No, you definitely cannot.
How does that actually work legally? Because they use their Ciocho branch as the prime example, which the deck values at 20 million US dollars. How do they take a $20 million concrete building and put it on a blockchain?
They lay it out in a very clear, highly regulated three-step protocol.
Yeah.
Step 1 is asset trust.
Okay, asset trust.
Boxful doesn't just hold the deed. The traditional legal ownership of the building is transferred to a registered real estate trust. That trust then issues a beneficiary certificate.
Okay, that makes sense. It's legally anchored.
Exactly. Step 2 is tokenization. They mint security tokens, the STOs, that are legally mapped one-to-one to the physical asset held securely in that trust.
Got it.
So if you hold a token in your digital wallet, you legally hold a fractional piece of the beneficiary rights to that $20 million building.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. But, I mean, fractional real estate isn't entirely new. People have been doing REITs, real estate investment trusts, for decades to own small slices of malls or apartment buildings. What makes Boxful's tokenization so different?
Because step 3 is where Boxful completely rewires the economic incentive structure of the city.
Okay.
Step 3 is called tenant vesting.
Yes. This is the mechanism that really caught my attention. Explain how tenant vesting works.
Automated distribution of those security tokens happens via smart contracts on the blockchain, and it's directly based on tenant performance.
Really?
Yeah, they provide actual building equity as a financial incentive to the people using the space. The deck explicitly says we turn tenants into partners.
That is so cool.
As the building's value increases, because of the vibrant community inside it, the value of the tokens the tenants hold increases as well.
Okay, imagine you are a franchise tenant. Let's say you're running a boutique coffee shop or one of those Gunpla hobby stations inside a Boxful hybrid hub.
Okay.
Usually you face the classic gentrification trap.
Right.
The better your business does, the more foot traffic you bring in, the cooler you make the neighborhood, the more the landlord can justify jacking up your rent the next year. You are literally penalized for your own success. You build the value, and the landlord captures it.
It is the tragedy of small business in urban centers. You make the space desirable, and then you get priced out of it by the very desirability you created.
Exactly. But under this tenant investing model, that trap is dismantled. It's like earning frequent flyer miles. But instead of a free flight to Omaha, you're earning actual equity in the concrete walls around you.
It's a brilliant way to frame it.
Right. The smart contract sees the data from the Staff Zero system. It sees that you are generating high revenue, paying your rent on time, and maintaining lease retention. Based on those metrics, it automatically drips ownership tokens into your digital wallet. The better your business does, the more of the physical building you own.
And look at the psychology of that shift. The deck features a phrase that perfectly captures their philosophy. It says, long-term tenant is worthwhile than loan.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
From a traditional financing perspective, they are saying that a stable, motivated tenant who acts like an owner is a more valuable financial asset to the project than cheap debt from a bank.
Which is true.
It creates perfect incentive alignment. The tenant wants the building to be clean, safe, and wildly popular because they literally own a piece of it. The traditional adversarial relationship between landlord and tenant just evaporates.
It is a complete paradigm shift for urban economics. I mean, we've started this deep dive looking at the urban paradox, the tragedy of dead, empty basements existing right beneath cramped, desperately overpriced apartments.
We've come a long way from an empty basement.
We really have. And to solve it, Boxful hasn't just built a slightly cleaner storage locker. They've built an AI that can see the hidden mathematical potential of an empty room. They've built an IoT nervous system that can automatically operate a complex hybrid lifestyle hub with zero human staff.
Which is incredible on its own.
It is. And finally, they've used blockchain tokenization to ensure that the people who actually bring life and culture to that space get to share in the wealth it creates.
It is a remarkable synthesis of technologies applied to a very old, very physical problem. The commercial real estate market has been historically incredibly slow to innovate.
Glacially slow.
But when PropTech companies figure out how to layer AI site planning, automated robotics, and decentralized finance, the results, as we've seen with those 300% asset value increases, are profound. They're redefining what physical space can do.
For those looking to get involved, the source deck actually leaves an open invitation to experience the scale from 1 to 100.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they provide the direct contact of Junkat Song at james@boxful.kr. They are actively looking for partners to join what they call the most important infrastructure for lifestyle across Asia.
And if we connect this all back to the bigger picture, it leaves us with a fascinating proposition about the future of our cities.
Let's hear it.
Our digital lives are already highly decentralized, shared, and interactive. But what happens to the physical fabric of our neighborhoods when the spaces we occupy, our offices, our storage units, our local gyms, become dynamically tokenized?
That is the exact thought we want to leave you with today. Could the future of urban living mean that simply by being a loyal customer, a dedicated hobbyist, or a successful long-term tenant, you incrementally become a co-owner of your entire neighborhood? It changes the very definition of what it means to belong to a city.
It really does. It's something to think about next time you walk past an empty basement.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon to unpack the next stack of sources with you. Until then, keep questioning the spaces around you.